I'm finally watching Inuyasha after 2 decades, and now I understand why it was such a game changer. When Inuyasha first began airing on Toonami in the early 2000s, I was more invested in other anime at the time to give it a try, and before I knew it, decades had passed. I probably would have never even attempted watching the series today if I hadn't taken it upon myself to start watching classics that I was aware of in the 2000s but never took the plunge with, beginning with Cardcaptor Sakura. After watching the first 4 episodes of Inuyasha, I can safely say that I definitely missed out back in the day. Going into the series, the most I knew about Inuyasha was a hilarious commercial that Toonami always used to air in the 2000s where Inuyasha and Kagome just say their names to each other during various circumstances and in varying ways. While I don't remember exactly what the Toonami host quipped after witnessing this pattern, I recall it had something to do with stating the obvious. That said, I do remember watching an episode of Inuyasha at my cousin's house when we were kids, since she was a massive fan, but the only thing that stood out to me was that they were looking for something, and that's ironically what I dislike most about the show so far. More recently, the name Inuyasha has appeared on my radar because it was featured in lists of retro isekai before the genre became a massive trend. Of course, I never read why it was included, since I don't like reading about anime or manga I've never read or watched before. But after watching the first 4 episodes of the anime, I now understand where everyone was coming from. Apart from the fact that these lists are confusing reincarnation with isekai, Inuyasha's use of reincarnation and time travel would, ironically, be considered very innovative if it came out today. If Kagome was actually transported to another world instead of back in time, her methodology and frequency of travel would stand out by today's standards. There's actually a place that serves as a physical portal instead of some unattainable summoning spell, which is now the norm. Better yet, Kagome and Inuyasha travel back and forth between their times, in what would be considered a combination of isekai and reverse isekai. Of course, this isn't to say this doesn't happen in modern-day anime, like I got a cheat skill in another world and became unrivaled in the real world, too. The protagonist not only goes back and forth between worlds, but his grandfather's house serves as a physical gateway between them. But in the case of Inuyasha, there's also the topic of reincarnation to consider. Kagome is the reincarnation of the warrior Kikyo. If this were a modern-day reincarnation anime, then the story would be told from Kikyo's perspective, where she is reborn as Kagome. But the story is about our sassy, fearless high schooler. The fact that we're told right out that Kagome is the reincarnation of Kikyo is also a refreshing change from an unfortunate prevalent trend in anime overall, where the story perplexingly leaves everything a mystery. To prove how much mystery is recklessly used in anime, all I have to do is discuss what I now know and can assume from this information in Inuyasha. In the first scene, Kikyo is the one who defeats Inuyasha and then dies to protect the sacred jewel. In later interactions between the half-demon and priestess, I got vibes that Inuyasha didn't completely hate Kikyo. Inuyasha's feelings for Kikyo make his disdain for Kagome all the more powerful in the present day, since his treatment of the young girl is based on how he felt about the previous priestess. There's some implied respect mixed in there with probable hints of intimacy. These implications, or possible misdirections, are massive when taking into consideration that we know that Kagome is the reincarnation of Kikyo. Based on the budding relationship between Inuyasha and Kagome and the commercials I saw as a child, it's clear that the two will likely become romantically involved. The fact that Inuyasha possibly had similar feelings for Kikyo would likely make this confusing for him and Kagome down the road. Even if I am wrong about Inuyasha's feelings for Kikyo, it makes his disdain for Kagome all the more powerful in the present day, since his treatment of young girl is based on how he felt about the previous priestess. If Inuyasha had left this as a mystery like most anime unfortunately do, all of these readings would be lost to unappealing, what-if questions that have no basis. Despite these positive outlooks, there are many things about Inuyasha that I am dreading. It all began when the sacred jewel shattered into uncountable pieces. The original concept of Inuyasha and Kagome protecting the sacred jewel, or, at least, retrieving it should the artifact ever get stolen, was less daunting since it serves as a more tangible, understandable mission. But now there are, in essence, millions,